Let's go! It's the LA Football Podcast.
Touchdown Ram! Recovered by the Chargers. Touchdown UCLA!
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Bleav Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, Los Angeles football fans, and welcome back to the LA Football Podcast here on the Bleav Podcast Network and on LAFBnetwork.com, your destination for Los Angeles football. Joined once again by my co-host, Mr. Frostee Rucker. My man, what's going on?
What's up, man? I'm still bumping that song you got that you found. I love it. Where'd you find that?
We got to do it hot in LA. We made it. I actually found someone in the LA market that does different music dubs, so he made it for us.
I was asking for Dr. Dre. We couldn't pull any strings for that, right?
It would have cost a pretty penny with the copyright infringement, but yeah. You know, a lot of podcasts will do that, but then if you get nabbed, it's not worth the fine you pay.
No.
But speaking of LA, are you what are you sitting on top of the Intercontinental Hotel with that backdrop? Or?
Back there? Yeah, that's my new thing. I'm gonna surprise everyone week in, week out with the new landscape of LA. So enjoy it. You know, you can see some stuff going on. There's a party going on back here.
Looks good. We got the traffic going. Are we ever going to be blessed with just your backyard or anything, or we're keeping it more just LA actual refinement?
Never know.
Okay, we'll keep it flow. We'll keep it fresh. So we got a great show for you today. We're going to get into a little bit of these Madden rankings quickly. Everyone likes to go through those, so that'll be kind of fun to kind of just talk about some of the guys that got rated, and then we'll put an LA spin on it. Going to do our own rankings for the LA pro players plus some LA college players. Got to get in our USC. I know Frostee will love hearing me talk about UCLA a little bit, so we'll get to that. And we got email questions. Make sure to email us your questions every week, podcast at LAFBnetwork.com. You can also just DM us on the Twitter. The Organic Frost is on Twitter or Instagram. I am Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. So make sure to get those questions. We'll answer them. So we got ones from last week we will get to on this show. But Frost, let's start with some Madden ratings. First of all, are you a big gamer? Are you a Madden guy?
No, I'm not. I actually don't care too much about those ratings because I think they're flawed, even though I hear there's people in the stands that actually judge what you do. But I know there's a lot of guys right now that are pissed off with their ratings, and it seems like that's every single year.
There is. Do you have any you don't have to tell me full stories, but do you remember times in the locker room guys getting all bent out of shape about it?
Yeah, it's usually the little small guys, DBs, receivers. They're always,
the defense
and stuff like this. For me, being a big guy, I'm just glad I'm out there and I can say, hey, look at me, I'm out there. But all these other guys, they care too much about that stuff.
Oh, yeah.
It's all the small guys, the divas.
Yeah. Well, the receivers are always divas, no matter what size you are. Then, DBs are not far. Probably just as diva-ish. They just don't get the rap as much. But we'll get into it quick. First off, the 99 guys, it's kind of, one thing I will say, it's kind of cool. Madden always does these big production for their 99 rating guys. They send them these care packages and build these almost like statues, if you will, for them. So we got, Pat Mahomes, obviously, Chris McCaffrey from the running back is 99. Stephon Gilmore, DB out of New England, and Mike Thomas, receiver from New Orleans. And then right here in LA, obviously, 4-time returning 99er, Aaron Donald. Any problem with any of those guys being rated that high?
No, I think when they get to the 99 level, it's pretty much a consensus that they are the most elite in our game today. So, no, I don't have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I agree with it. Mike Thomas, you can debate some with the receivers, but there's no – he led the league in basically every stat last year. So
he's a 99 for sure.
Yeah, I think so. So, all right, well, we'll just quickly go through some of these positions. And Frost, I just want to hear kind of if you have any gripe with him. Again, not a gamer, but it's still kind of a ranking platform. Obviously, it's ratings for Madden, but still ranks the players in order. So you can say if you'd prefer someone in or out. So we'll start with quarterbacks. Obviously, Pat Mahomes, like I said, 99. He's first. Got Russell Wilson second with a 97 rating. Lamar Jackson comes in third, former MVP, but a 94 rating. You got Drew Brees, old reliable, at 4 with 93. And Tom Brady at 5 with a 90 rating. I feel like a lot of guys probably could be in that spot. But what's your thoughts on that?
He is the GOAT. Let's not get that twisted. But if we're going off the stats of last year, are we sure he's in the top 5?
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I think if you're doing these rankings all time, obviously he would be number 1. But when you're going off last year, 5, I mean, you got these guys, Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers, Matt Ryan, Carson Wentz. A lot of these quarterbacks I think would warranted a higher rating than him, but you can't even call. Yeah, I was going to say recency bias, but you can't call it that because they're basing it on last year and they're rating it a little high. So, other than that, though, the 4 ahead of him, you're cool with that in those order?
I think that number 5 spot is just respect. So let's just keep it at that. And I'm going to tip my non-cap to Tom Brady right now because he is the GOAT, and the GOAT always gets that extra nod, I guess.
Yeah. Did you ever bring Brady down? Ever sack that guy?
I hit him and got close to him a few times, but he'll get rid of the ball. He's a good one. I do have a picture framed of me shuffling down the line trying to block a pass or something. I don't know what. It's the only one I got of me and him. But nope. Can't lie.
I knew we'd get
so I can't lie.
Yeah, that's okay. You got your hands on, I guess, a little bit. So I knew we'd get at some point a little off topic. So I do have one question for you since we're on it, but we'll move quickly past. But so you said you didn't actually sack him, but you obviously got close. Brady, is that what makes him so hard to bring down? Is just the quickness of how he gets the ball? Because he's obviously not. He's not a deer in the pocket. He's not. The escapability is not really. The athleticism is not there. It's just the quickness, the release.
No shade versus Brady, but he has good timing with his receivers and the routes and whatnot.
Yeah.
So everything already, by the time they hike the ball, he pretty much know where the ball's going. There's not a lot of check downs with what he does, and there's not a lot of 4th, 5th looks. They know where the ball's going and they know their matchup. So they're so they were so well versed with that. Let's say were, because he's not there anymore.
That's right.
They were so well versed with that their system just works. So again, he's the GOAT.
Yeah.
And it made it tough because of the timing. Yeah.
Yeah. Pre-snap, he knew where he was going exactly. So it'll be interesting to see the changes there now in Tampa with a new system and, obviously good weapons, but obviously he's not in the same 16-year system he was before. So that'll be fun to watch. All right. On to running backs. As I mentioned, Christian McCaffrey's 99 club, so he's 1. At number 2, you have Derrick Henry, who has kind of a inconsistent career, but obviously killed it last year. Dude's a beast at a 93 rating. Nick Chubb at number 3 with a 92 rating. You got Zeke at 4 with also a 92 rating, so I guess both tied for 3rd. And then Saquon Barkley comes in 5th at 91. You cool with that 5? Would you change your order, or would you take someone out and add someone else in?
I think I'm cool with that 5. There's no denying those guys their ability and that they rank where they are. And I think if we were going to list the list a little longer, top 10, I think the back 5 would be a little different. But
yeah, a little more jumbled.
So I'm cool with that top 5.
Yeah, I don't really have a problem with that. If I was going to be nitpicky, I might put Barkley above Chubb and Zeke, but it's a 1-point difference of their rating. So, and he's still younger and hasn't proven as much as at least Zeke has. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with it either. So, all right, on to what should we do next? We do receivers? Let's do receivers. So as I mentioned, Mike Thomas with the 99 rating at 1. Then you got Nuke Hopkins with a 98, 1 point below him at 2. Julio Jones, been doing it forever, feels like, but still is only about 31 years old at a 97 rating. Tyreek Hill with the 96 rating at 4. And then Devontae Adams comes in at 5th with a 94 rating. A lot of other good receivers after that. I feel pretty good about the 5. How do you slice it down?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think that number 5 spot could go to a number of people. There's always a number of people that absolutely ball. I like Golden Tate always.
Okay.
Big fan of Golden Tate. I like Larry Fitzgerald for what he does, what he brings. And, when we're talking GOAT-wise,
yeah,
the system that he's in this time, he may not get all those catches, may not get to 1,000 yards. We may not see another 1,000-yard season. But when you're talking GOAT, you got to give him a nod to be in the conversation just like you did Brady. So I think there's a lot of guys that could battle out that 5th spot.
I agree. Before I add to that real quick, you mentioned Larry Fitzgerald. Obviously, you played defense. But what was it like being on a team with him, being in a locker room with him? I mean, all the stories you hear of the class act, the hard work. What was it like firsthand?
Class act, a little bit more normal than people know. It's
University of Phoenix. He got his degree from University of Phoenix. He's a normal dude.
Oh, Larry's the man. That's not no denying that, right? He's the man. Very personable. He's just a normal cat when you're in the locker room with him for 5 years, and a real great guy. I just had my son when I was there my last year, and in Arizona, and Larry wrote some pretty cool stuff, jerseys and stuff like that, and did that for me. He didn't really have to do it, and just the type of guy he is. So no bad things to say about Larry Fitz, the GOAT.
That's awesome. Yeah. One of my favorite, being as I played receiver, he's a guy I always looked up to. It seems like he's been in the league for about 40 years, but still going strong.
Yeah.
If he needed to, I think he could get 1,000 yards anytime he wanted. Obviously the system now is changing, but I think if he really wanted to, and they wanted to pepper him with some balls, he'd get 1,000 yards every year.
Oh, easily. It's just all system, quarterback, and I like what they have going on, and their new offense. But we can talk about that another day.
Yeah. So back to the list. The only thing I would probably change, and I have more of them in front of me. I don't know if you have them in front of me, but or in front of you, excuse me. But they had Mike Evans at 8 and Keenan Allen at 9. I would probably take those two guys, and I would take out Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams and slide those two in the top 5. I just think they're more well-rounded game. Nothing against Adams or Hill. I just think Hill fits so perfectly with what Kansas City's doing, and maybe he wouldn't. I mean, you can't take away his speed and say that wouldn't fit, but I like what Keenan Allen does.
He's a big play guy, and I think they go off that also, those big play home runs.
Yeah.
But there's, like I said, that 5th spot, there's no denying that Adams doesn't make plays and move the chain, goes deep and catches the ball on the sideline, 2 feet in, makes the hard catch every time. It's hard. We're talking about the elite of the elite. So, you can't please everyone in Madden. They do the best they can. Right?
Totally. And we're saying from the 5th spot to the 10th spot, you're separating by 3 ratings points from 94 to 91. So I tried to give some love for our LA guy, Keenan Allen. So, okay, let's move over to defense. Let's start with pass rushers. Your expertise. Aaron Donald, obviously at 1 with a 99 rating. This one was surprising to me. And again, it's no disrespect to his career, but it's where he's at. They have J.J. Watt at 2 with a 98 rating. We'll talk on that. Khalil Mack at 3 and Von Miller at 4, both a 97 rating. And Fletcher Cox, 96. Obviously, he's great. I don't know if pass rusher necessarily, but, I mean, no disrespect, one of the great defensive linemen in the game.
Yeah, that J.J. Watt one, I think that's just a respect thing.
Yeah.
Obviously, we know what he brings to the game on and off the field. He's a tremendous asset to the game and a heck of a ball player. But him being hurt and whatnot, that kind of, it's hard to get someone ranked number 2. Or when the guys make Pro Bowls, or, for instance, and they didn't play. It's kind of hard, when guys play the whole season and, don't get those votes. So that's a tough one. I love to see Big Fletch in there, heck of a player.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see Carlos Dunlap or some of these Bengal guys. And so Carlos Dunlap, I like the T.J. Watt.
Mm-hmm.
He had a season than his brother.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of younger guys that could have been in that top 5 if we're talking about just pass rushers, or not even young guys. Danielle Hunter.
Yeah, 100%.
He's phenomenal, and he wasn't in that. Obviously you got the Bosa's. Joey's in it, right?
Not top 5, no.
Oh, that's hard. See?
Actually, no, they didn't even have either Bosa brother in the top 10, which I was very surprised by.
That's a tough one. You can't please everyone, right? And then, so we're talking about the difference between the numbers, right, to make them who they are. But, each guy brings a lot of value. And, like I said, I think Carlos Dunlap should be in there, Geno Atkins. You're forgetting some guys that do it consistently year in, year out. And, the Oakland Raiders had Max Crosby last year that played phenomenal, and he got double digits. So, while they rank them, but if it was me, I would put Khalil Mack at number 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then I would put Calais Campbell in there.
Yep, absolutely. Disruptive.
Yeah, but we're talking about
Chandler Jones, another one of your buddies.
Yeah, Chandler Jones.
Yeah, he was 7, so he was top 10, but he could be top 5.
He's the best to me. I would move the whole list around. I would start with Chandler, to be completely honest, and they go. So 1A, 1B would be Chandler and Aaron Donald.
Okay, there we go. That's all we need to hear. The top 2, there you go. Aaron Donald, Chandler Jones. You're starting to hear a lot more respect for Chandler Jones just because he doesn't get talked about, and that could be playing for Arizona. You mentioned the Bengal guys never get the respect you guys deserve. You played for him for many years. I met Carlos Dunlap down in Miami, and super cool dude. He opened a restaurant in Miami, actually, a little like breakfast spot. Cool guy.
It looks cool on social media. I haven't went down there and tried it yet, but the food looks delicious. I think they got like a French toast and some champagne.
Yeah.
I may venture down and.
It sounded great. He was trying to get us in there, but we were on the row all morning and we couldn't really leave. But yeah, cool guy. 18 sacks to get 100. So I hope he does it this year. That'd be a crushing year.
Then you leave a guy like that out, but he has a collection of, a decade of doing it. So it's tough.
And he's still fairly young, so has a lot of wheels left to go. So, okay. Let's go to CB. Yeah, let's do the corners. So Stephon Gilmore with the 99 rating at 1. And then you got Jalen Ramsey, finally an LA guy makes the list other than Donald, with a 94. He's the second guy. You got Richard Sherman at 3 with a 92. Been playing really well. Again, that might be a respect thing, but still great.
Rough game, and it had to be the one on the biggest stage. But
so good. One of the younger guys at 4 is Jair Alexander out in Green Bay with a 90. And 5th, rounding it out, Tre'Davious White up there in Buffalo, who I just think is the future of the CB. The guy's dominant.
He's the future, but we're leaving a good name out there out, and that's Patrick Peterson.
Yep.
Yeah. Again, see, this is where the stuff I don't get. If you miss some of the season, you don't get voted in it. But some guys didn't play as well, and they get voted off respect. And Pat's been a Pro Bowler every year he's been in the league.
Yeah.
As last year. So that's a tough one, but I don't have any disagreements with where they're at because all guys played at a very high level. I just wish Pat P was in there.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, and I was a teammate. So.
No, I agree. And he did finish. He did get the 10th spot with an 88 rating. But yeah, it goes back to if you're going to put J.J. Watt at 2 with a 98 rating when he hasn't played collectively 3 games over the last 3 seasons, unfortunately, because of injury. And Pat Peterson's always there. He's always available, always in the Pro Bowl, dominant, loyal.
And you said it. I didn't have to say it. You said it.
Yeah, well, you just led into it, so perfect. But yeah, the other guys I agree with too. Casey Hayward, another LA guy, charter, he made 7, so he did make the top 10 at least. Okay, safeties. Harrison Smith at 1. Harrison Smith is always an underrated guy, but he's always one of the top-rated guys out of Minnesota with a 95 rating. Tyrann Mathieu is 2nd with a 93 rating. Jamal Adams, young buck out in New York with a 92 rating at 3rd. Devin McCourty with a 92, and running out the 5, you have Kevin Byard from Tennessee with a 91. I would move some names around. I don't know how you feel about those.
I can move some around too. There's a lot of good safeties out there, and for some reason Harrison's name always comes up, in the midst of being one of the greatest. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of him, but he does play some good ball. So I'm going to give him that. The number 1 spot, I definitely wouldn't have did that. My point of view, but what do I know?
You know a good amount, I think.
but I think there's a lot of good safeties out there right now, and he wouldn't be my first pick to lead it off.
Do you think at 7, Derwin James gets 7? Would you put it? I would put him top 5, 100%. I know he was hurt last year a little bit, but based on his rookie year and the 12 games he did play, I'm 100% putting him top 5.
So you're giving him the respect, the nod to be in top 5.
True. I just think he's a game changer, the way he plays.
Oh, absolutely. The way he comes downhill and he just smokes people. He can run sideways, sideline, jump, catch the ball. He's a complete player. He looks like a middle linebacker. So.
Yeah, big dude, and still crazy. He fell to 17th in the draft. Huge steal for the Chargers there. But yeah, other than that, you can list it differently. But yeah, I agree with you. I don't think I'd probably have. Would I have Adams 1? I don't know. I like Justin Simmons, another guy I really like a lot.
Buda Baker. We're not talking about the first pick, but Buda Baker is a phenomenal player also.
Really good. Yeah, really good. He had a really good, super good special teamer too. I don't know if he's still doing that, but when he started off as a rookie, he was fantastic on special teams.
Of a football player, man. And a lot of this is I get biased because I actually was in the locker room with these guys and was on the field with them in the huddle. So, obviously there's why I speak so highly of these guys also.
Oh, absolutely. Makes sense. We all would be the same way. So I have written with certain people, and I'm like, oh, yeah, you guys are a better writer than this guy because I've written with him. So we can relate. So, all right. Well, that rounds out the ratings or the Madden ratings. Frost, I think we were going to do something LA-wise, weren't we?
Yeah. I had a question for you about the LA guys.
Okay.
So we got 2 teams in LA.
That we do.
What is your top 10 completely, your top 10 football players in LA?
Pro teams, right? We'll do college next.
You got you're going to throw some college? No. Rams and Chargers. Who's your top 10?
Okay. You want me to list all 10, or do you want to go back and forth?
Let's see if your list matches up to mine. I have mine right here. I
Okay.
actually wrote this out. This is off. I actually did my homework on this.
There you go. I know I gave you some homework and you came through. That's good. You're
Everyone's
better
like,
get used to it. I give a lot of homework. I give
That's
them to
cool.
our guests sometimes, and they're like, they do it, so it's fun. Okay, so I have at 10. I had to give love to Big Whit, Andrew Whitworth. Obviously, some news came out today, which we can maybe touch on later if you want. Unfortunately, him and his family have been affected by COVID, but it seems to be doing good. But yeah, I love Whitworth. Obviously, I don't know how many Pro Bowls he went to when he's in Cincinnati, but he was a staple of your guys' team out there on the left side, and he's just been dominant since he's been in LA. 38 years old and has still got a 3-year extension. Just shows how good he is and how important he is to the LA infrastructure on the offense. So love Whitworth. At 9, I kept it with the Rams, and I went Cooper Kupp. I'm a big Kupp guy. Drafted in the 3rd round out of a small college. I just think he's a guy when you need a possession, when you need a catch for a first down, he's your guy. Robert Woods is right there too. I love them both. Former SC guy. Got to give a shout out to Robert Woods. But just the age of Cooper Kupp, what he was able to do last year coming back from injury, and just that possession ability. And also he had a nose for the end zone, getting in a lot of touchdowns. So I love Cooper Kupp. Okay, what are we at? 8, I went Rams again. I went Michael Brockers. I think Brockers is highly underrated amongst NFL circles, or at least amongst fans. And he was a steal. The fact that I don't know if how many people remember this, but he signed with Baltimore, and then because of COVID, they weren't able to do a physical for him. So it kind of fell through, and then he re-signed with the Rams. And I think that was huge for the Rams to be able to bring back Brockers. I love what he does in the run game. He doesn't have the big sack stats, which is why he's not as well known, but he's so dominant in the run game and just such an integral part to what Donald is able to do on the defensive line. So that was 8. So 7. Am I going too quick? Do you want to jump in here, or is this flowing good?
This is your list. I'm listening, and if I need to say something, I'll say something.
Please do. Okay, so 7, we go over across the freeway to the Chargers. I got to give some love to Casey Hayward. Guy's been doing it for years at the corner position, came out of Green Bay, and he was good in Green Bay, and then he's become dominant with the Chargers. Another guy that doesn't get talked about a lot, but he's a top 10 corner, could argue top 5, and really important to that back end, that cover 3 defense that Gus Bradley likes to run. So at 6, kept it with the Chargers and their newest addition, Chris Harris Jr. I've said it before. I've grown up a Broncos fan. Love Chris Harris Jr., undrafted. And now that he's going to go back and play in the slot where he belongs, I think he'll show how dominant he is at that spot. So love me some CHJ. At 5, for second receiver on the list, Keenan Allen, best route runner in the game. Great beard. With the shaved head, looks good. Good size, stronger than he looks. Can't say enough about Keenan Allen. Just a good player, good teammate. Like what he brings to the table. Yeah. 4, Joey Bosa. Got to get to the edge rushers now. Bosa, when on the field, could be one of the most dominant edge rushers in my opinion. He's a game wrecker. He's had some issues with injury throughout his career, but for the most part, at least last season, was healthy. So I love Bosa. You can debate whether he's the better Bosa brother, but we won't get into that right now. But love Joey. 3, Jalen Ramsey. What a good trade for the Rams. Everyone was a little uneasy about it with 2 first-round picks, but with that value, who else are you going to get in the first rounds? It gives you what Jalen Ramsey brings to the table. Shutdown corner, and I think him getting in this new system with Brandon Staley is going to benefit him, and I like what he's going to do on the back end there. 2, Derwin James. We talked about him a little bit in our Madden segment. Love Derwin. I think he's a top 3 safety in the game. He can come up and play in the box, or he can play outfielder on the back end and get you interceptions where you need him. As long as he's healthy, he's going to be one of the best for over a decade. Chargers better lock him up soon before that safety market's hitting $20 million a year. And finally, number 1, I don't really need to say much about it. It's got to be Aaron Donald. Guy's just dominant. Defensive player of the year. He could be defensive player of the year really every year if they wanted to. Double-digit sacks from the interior. You've talked about how tough it is to shed blockers in the interior and still get after the quarterback, and he does it on a consistent basis. So I should take a breath. That's my top 10 pro players in LA.
That's a good one. I love your top 10. I can't say I would move some players around, but, I think we, for the most part, got a lot of top. I'm going to start with number 1. I'm going to say Aaron Donald. You just spoke so highly of him. Obviously, everyone speaks so highly of him because he does it all. Yep. He's the most fierce guy in the middle of the defense. He can play on the edge and beat tackles. He moves down to the guard. He can whip your guard. He can whip your center. He can draw a double team. But like you said, with Brockers on the other side of him, half the time, who do you double? It's either going to be Donald or Brockers. And Sometimes Donald, when he gets that one-on-one, it's nearly impossible to block him. It's impossible to block him with double team. So he's number one. With number two is the emerging star with Joey Bosa. I'm going to go with Joey. I think this kid has the biggest upside in this group behind Donald because Donald's so consistent. He's younger, but the things he does on the football field, being a defensive end by trade myself, watching him bend, get low, use his hands, get rid of people, the way he can pass rush, the kid has it all. So he's going to be in my number two. Number three, I'm going to go with Jalen Ramsey because of the value. You spoke about that trade, got him there, all the confusion he had in Jacksonville and all that. He got to the Rams, came out the first game and made a big play. A couple big plays.
Yeah.
You know, he talks a lot, but that's okay. You know, he's confident in this game, and I'm confident in him too, so that's why I have him at number three. Then number four, I'm going to go with Brockers. I think what he brings to the table is just as Donald. He's a complete game changer at the defensive line front. Obviously, I'm a little biased because I'm a defensive lineman by trade, and that's who I watch. But Brockers is so dominant that he can go anywhere across the league and get the same respect that Aaron Donald gets, in my opinion. But he chooses to, you know, take on a lot of those double teams and chew up a lot of real estate. So Donald gets one-on-ones, and I like him for that. My number five, and I'm going Keaton Alan. You spoke highly of him. I feel the same way. He's been really consistent. You said he has the best routes. That's debatable, but the routes are very crisp, like my edge. They're very crisp, and I think he catches a great football. He runs great routes. He's fast. He's smart. You don't hear a lot about him off the field in a negative way. You only hear great things about him. He's a leader, and that's why he's my number five. My number six is Derwin. So we talked about him before. Derwin James is like a middle linebacker playing safety. He runs sideline to sideline. He can catch the ball. He can hit you. No one wants to have a one-on-one with him as a running back position. He's feared across the league. He's still young, a little injury prone, but that's okay. It's football. You know, we're not sitting here playing badminton or what else could we say? You know, we're not playing
Checkers.
if checkers was a competitive sport. We're not playing that either. So Derwin James comes in there, and he's my number six. And then, again, I'm biased from guys up front because I know value, and Andrew Whitworth is number 7 in LA. Andrew Whitworth brings a lot to the table, not only his physical play and not allowing any sacks last year. Am I correct?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah.
No, he didn't allow any sacks last year. He's a tremendous leader and a locker room staple, and that's why you get a 3-year contract at the age of 38, 39 years old. He's a phenomenal football player, but the person he is, he can bring the team together. He's the glue, and the glue adds a lot of value, and that's why he's my number 7.
When I stood next to Whitworth when I saw him at training camp, I don't know if I've ever seen a bigger human being in my life. Guy,
Oh, he's a mountain. So I don't know if our fans know this, but me and Andrew Whitworth, we started our career off in Cincinnati together. We're in the same draft class, the class of 2006. That class was Jonathan Joseph, which he's with Tennessee Titans now, playing safety. He was a great corner for 13 years now, or 14 years now. He's going to year 15. Just think about what I'm saying here.
Yeah.
Andrew Whitworth was the second-round pick. I was the third. Domata Pekka was our 4th. Just look at those guys.
Good draft class.
You know, we all played 13. I played 13, and they all went 14.
Yeah.
And we got 2 guys signed up for year 15 right now. So, hats off to Big Whip for staying healthy, staying mentally tough, and the Rams for making sure I know he doesn't practice. So shout out to the Rams for making sure he can extend those years. My number 8 is Melvin Ingram. The Chargers have the best, I believe, outside guys between the 2 teams with Ingram and Bosa. I think Ingram is not a guy that gets a lot of talk, but he's been so consistent over the course of his career. He's strong, powerful, fast. He can rush. He can stop the run. Just watching film, because that's, I'm a nerd like that. I watch a lot of film on guys across the league, and watching him play, the motor he has, he's one of the complete dominant football players out there in the league, and that's why he's my number 8. And then I'm going to, throw a wrinkle out here because, again, I'm a big guy and I like to watch inside stuff. And I got Mike Pouncy. A lot of people don't think this guy should be on the list, but I do because he's a strong, physical, dominant offensive center. He's smart. He calls all the checks. He gets them in the best position. And he's a leader. He's a Pro Bowl caliber guy. And he's been doing it for a decade. And it says enough. I played over a decade in the league. And I give a lot of, my hat that I don't have gets tipped for these guys because it's so hard to go week in, week out or staying physically ready and mentally dominant to go that long of a career. And Mike Pouncy rounds it off with number 9. And my number 10, at the drum roll, Johnny Hekker. I'm saying Johnny Hekker. I know this is the wrinkle. This is the curveball.
Okay.
Curveball. So I'm throwing Johnny Hekker in there just because as a player, I hated him.
Why is that?
I hated him. He's so slick and he does little, he acts like he's going to hit you or he will hit you. And the little things he does, he's a trickster.
Mm-hmm.
But he'll pin the ball inside the 5. He has great accuracy. He has he kicks a great deep ball, and he's so valuable. And I think he's the most valuable specialist between the two teams. And I think he deserves to be the number 10 player on my list. You can argue my top 10, but I don't care because Johnny Hekker rounds it off, and I think he's a valuable asset to the Los Angeles Rams.
I love it. And he was a Pac-12 guy, played Oregon State, so you got to throw it in there. Technically a rival for you, I guess, but Oregon State's not really a rival to USC. They're a bottom 2 team. But no, I love Hugger. I love giving the punter some love, and it is an important part of the game. So it's just surprising to hear a former, player of yourself giving credit to a special teamer because a lot of guys, they're kind of different.
It comes back to being in the team meeting rooms, and I was a special teams guy. I played. Sometimes I played punt return. I was always a backup on most of the things towards the end of my career, and I played field goal. But listening to Amos Jones was my special team coach in Arizona, and the way he talked about his specialists and the guys you're going against. And he used to always say, you put your antennas up on certain guys, and Johnny Hekker was one. So I wouldn't make that list complete if I didn't give him the value he deserves.
That's great. I love it. Hey, and he's one of the best trick play punters in the game with his throwing percentage is like tops in the game.
I'm telling you, he's slick. He's got it all. Johnny
does. Well, that's a good list.
As a player,
yeah.
When I was playing, I didn't like him just because he had all those tricks in his bag.
Yeah.
But when I step outside off the field, his value can't be denied.
Which I think that says a lot considering now we've talked about a lot of players, a lot of quarterbacks, and you haven't yet said, I don't like this quarterback, but you said, I don't like this punter as a player. So that says something about the guy's game. Respect.
That's a lot.
Well, I like the list. I think we only had our bottom 3 were the only differences. I had Cooper Kupp on there, and you had obviously Hekker and Mike Pouncy. So pretty similar list. So I think hats off. All right. Well, now this is the LA Football Podcast. We need to talk a little college. I know there hasn't been a lot of news regarding USC and UCLA. This has been a long offseason, no spring games. No spring practices really, but we can still make a list about them. And I went ahead and did a list of 10 again, combining UCLA and USC, ranking who I thought it's going to be a little more USC heavy, but I did include some UCLA players. So I think they do have some talent on the ball. Frostee, you're new to the show. Never lost UCLA. Great USC, 2-time champion. So I won't make you throw in UCLA players yet. We'll get there eventually, but it's still new and fresh. You can keep with just the SC. So I'll make you do 5 players.
I'll say thank you for that because if we do actually have a season, I got to warm up to speaking on the Bruins and all that. So as of right now, I'm still a little biased and it'll take me a little time to come around. So thank you.
We'll get you there. We'll have, like you said, you played with Deshaun Foster in high school. We'll have him on the show maybe, and that'll be our ease transition into UCLA talk for you.
Conversation.
So, okay. Well, I'll start with my 10. Stop me whenever you want if you wanted me to change my list at all, and then we'll get you your 5 SC guys, which I probably have, but hey, I want to see your list in your order. So, starting at 10, I went with UCLA wide receiver Kyle Phillips. Talented guy, didn't have the huge stats from last year, but I think he has the potential to be one of the top slot receivers in the entire Pac-12, even with the unbelievable talent down in SC. Kyle Phillips can at least compete, and he'll be that true kind of slot guy. So he's who I got at 10. Number 9, I am going to just butcher this name. I probably should have looked up the phonics of it beforehand, but I didn't. So I'm just going to say Osa Odeguizwa. Said that horribly, but defensive interior lineman for UCLA, another talented kid coming back, big force in the middle, and I think he can bring a lot to hopefully aid in the pass rush or at least the run stopping ability of this UCLA unit. So at 8, I'm going to go with my first SC player, Amon-Ra St. Brown out of Modern Day. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, what he brings. I think he had the best statistics last year of all the receivers, and you could rank any of these receivers in reality. 1A, 1B, 1C, they're all that good, but I have him coming in at 8. Number 7 went on the interior offensive line for the Trojans with Elijah Vera Tucker. Has the potential to be the highest draft pick or at least offensive line draft pick in the Pac-12, I think. He's the strongest returning lineman for the Trojans since Austin Jackson was drafted this year. So he'll kind of be the leader on that unit, and I like what he brings, and I like his game a lot. At 6, another USC edge player. You'll respect this guy, Drake Jackson, true freshman last year, was dominant. What?
6.
Yeah, I know. But wait till you get to these final 5, though. But so I got him in at 6. True freshman, will be a sophomore. He was dominant in that Utah game, which was the upset of the year, at least in the Pac-12, when SC not only beat Utah but dominated. And Drake Jackson was a huge part for that. Can't wait to see what he does in his sophomore season. I'm sure when I do this list next year, it might be very different where Drake Jackson lands. At 5, I have Jake Burton, offensive tackle for UCLA. He'll be a high draft pick. Probably the top tackle in the Pac, or, there's some good guys up at Oregon as well, but he'll be one of the top tackles in the entire Pac-12. Big mountain of a guy, and he's the oldest guy on the UCLA line that has all sophomores besides Burton, so he'll be the leader there. At 4, I like Demetric Felton. He's a running back / receiver. Don't take words out of my mouth. I'm not comparing him to Reggie Bush whatsoever, but he has the same style of play. Style of play where he can play all over the field. He's a weapon. He can be used in different packages. Does he line up at running back? Does he line up at receiver? He'll be a true candidate for, some of those great awards that he can kind of go both ways. At 3, got to go with Tyler Vaughns, who is my Biletnikoff finalist there at USC. Michael Pittman was a finalist last year. I think Tyler Vaughns does it this year. Just a great receiver. Glad he came back. Super tall, super lanky, tremendous hands, and he'll be the leader of that receiver unit. And at 2, defensive line, Jay Tufele, excuse me. Awesome dude, going to be disruptive in the run game, can get after the quarterback if needed. He'll be a maybe not day 1, but definitely a day 2 draft pick, most likely, if he's able to stay healthy throughout this year, and will be a very important part of this new look Trojan defense. And finally, at 1, got to go with Kedon Slovis. It's Slovis season out here in LA. True sophomore. What he did as a freshman, coming in unexpected, started off the year like 4th on the depth chart, battled his way up. Obviously, the injury to JT Daniels came in and took the Pac-12 and took the entire country by storm, putting up tremendous numbers, running Graham Harrell's system, and I can't wait to see what Kedon Slovis does this year. Slovis season, baby, 2020.
Okay, I like that. Again, you had some names in there that I'd rather not talk about just yet. So,
Fair.
I'll look at that. But I'm going to give you my top 5 USC players that, A, look for this year, B, you should already know who they are.
Yeah. Trojan fans, this is the list you want to hear because Frostee knows his Trojan stuff. So this is the list you want.
I do, kind of, in a way. Just kidding. I do. My number 1 is Drake Jackson. So while you think it's slow this season, there's another guy that stepped up and had a phenomenal season as a young pup. And Drake Jackson came in and showed a lot of promise, and he's going to be one of the next great defensive linemen to come out of USC. He's strong. He's fast. He reminds me a little bit of Kenechi Udeze mixed with a little bit of the big cat, Leonard Williams.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's a good guy to be compared to.
Yeah, and he's like a mixture right in between them. Big, strong, fast, physical, has all the tools, works hard. If you follow him on social media, he's going to be my number 1. And Slovis is going to be number 2 just because I do like what he did last year, coming in off the bench for a very talented JT that ended up transferring because of this kid.
Mm-hmm.
It was because of the injury. It was because of who was, taking the reign at the quarterback position at USC. And then my number 3 is going to be St. Brown. All last year was Pittman. I was a big fan. I called Pittman to be the MVP of the season last year. This year on the offensive side of the ball, I think it's going to be pitch and catch with St. Brown and Slovis all day if there's a season. Put that in again. And my number 4, I'm going to say Isaiah Polamalu. So he is a phenomenal football player. Now, if you watch him, you'll see a guy that can get sideline to sideline, come down and hit you, smart, active. And with the new defensive scheme, I think you can isolate him a little bit more to see him blitz a lot more this year and get some more sacks and get behind the line of scrimmage where he can dip under tackles and run through the line. He's not afraid of anything, and I like him. And my number 5, this is a tough one for me because I'm a bigger guy. You can see me in the screen right here. I'm not small, and I always like to give the bigger guys, offensive line, defensive line, a little bit more nudge, a little bit more recognition because they deserve it. They put all the work in. They're battling every play. They usually are tossing around 2 or 3 players at a time, having some real hard challenges during the week to stay up on 2 feet, strong guys. So this one's a tough one, but I'm going to go Elijah Griffin. I think this is the year he has a breakout season at the corner position. He's a kid that is full of confidence. He's a regulator himself. And I have a lot of promise for this kid personally, just watching him growing. He gets nicked up a little bit, but he battles. And I think he brings a certain swag to our defensive backfield that we need and a lot of energy. So that's going to round off my top 5. Again, that was Drake Jackson. I got Slovis. I got St. Brown. I got Polamalu, and I got Griffin.
It's a great list. Yeah. I'd probably respect your list a little more than mine, but you can't go wrong with any of those guys. Any of those guys. Yeah. Yeah. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. What I love about him is he can play anywhere. Put him in the slot, put him on the outside, put him on jet sweeps, do whatever you want. I think against Colorado, he had more rushing yards than receiving yards. He's just that dynamic.
And he's an Orange County kid, following him from modern day and watching what he did. And when he chose to go to USC, I was so happy. And that wide receiver room is so deep. Oh. That wide receiver group is so deep with Kerry Colbert coaching them. They're learning from one of the very best that actually played at SC. And I think they're going to just continue to grow and be the best. I'm excited to know what they're doing this offseason. Obviously, we know they're not practicing, but there's Zoom calls and whatnot. I think we need to check in with Kerry Colbert and see. I'm going to call him, get him on here. But that receiver group is one of the leading factors of why I know we will have a successful season if there is a season.
Yeah. Oh, I would love Dr. Colbert because, what he does and what they're able to do to recruit these receivers is unreal. That room is so deep, so talented. They'll all be playing on Sundays at one point as long as they can stay healthy. So I'm excited about both these squads. I think USC is a Pac-12 favorite. I'm sure you think so just being a USC guy, but I think they're that good this year, have that much returning talent. Really didn't lose a whole lot. Obviously, we've mentioned Pittman, lost a couple other guys on defense. Austin Jackson, I was in the line, but a lot of returning starters, and the guys coming up of freshmen and sophomore, the younger guys, are that good. I do think UCLA will be better as well. Can't be much worse than they've been, so should be an easy improvement. But I do see them winning 6 games if there is a season and playing in a bowl game. So I think that's their goal. They're kind of hopefully their benchmark they should hit. So, well, good stuff, Frostee. I want to get to some email questions, but before we do, today's episode of the LA Football Podcast is brought to you by Simply Safe. What's the number one sign of bad home security system? A home security system that's so complicated you never use it. That's exactly the type of system Simply Safe has spent a decade fighting against. Simply Safe was designed to be easy to use while protecting your whole home 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You order it online, you open the box, you place the sensors, plug it in, and your home is protected around the clock. It's that simple. Just head to simplysafe.com/team and get free shipping and a 60-day money-back guarantee. That's simplysafe.com/team. It feels good to fear less. All right, Frostee. So let's get to some email questions. Again, if you want to have your emails read on the LA Football Podcast, email us at podcast@lafbnetwork.com or DM us on the socials, The Organic Frost. Myself is Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. All right, Frost, this one's for you. Would you
Okay.
rather play in this day and age, 2020, 2019, this, the later 2000s, or in the 1970s?
You know what? That's a great question. Personally, I think I'm more suited to play back in the day in the 70s, 80s. The rules were a little bit more defense friendly, where you can drive a quarterback into the dirt. You can hit someone coming across the middle of the field. Receivers were scared. Quarterbacks didn't want to throw the ball over that because they didn't want to, A, get their receiver knocked out, or B, get knocked out by the receiver for throwing the ball. So I would like to play back then, and it's a great question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. As a defenseman, that's the answer. It has to be back then. I mean, you look at guys, especially if we're talking LA, Deacon Jones, who arguably is the greatest pass rusher of all time. The sack was coined because of what he did. What would he be like in today's game when he wasn't driving quarterbacks? Jack Youngblood, a little different. You look at the safeties like Ronnie Lott and stuff like that. You can't punish guys over the middle anymore. As an offense person, as a receiver, the answer's got to be now, because you're not getting destroyed over the middle like you were back in those days. So, but the question was for you. You would play back in the day. You just have to play after the sack was coined, right? Which was like, I think, early 70s. So as long as you start after that, you're good.
That's cool.
Got to record those stats. That's crazy that stat wasn't even recorded until like the 70s to me. That's still bizarre to me. Forced fumbles was another one. It was like a newer one. Like Lawrence Taylor, if you look, he has like no forced fumbles, but obviously he caused a lot of forced fumbles. So
He was chaotic.
yeah, so good. So, all right, Frosty, another one for you. Who, in your opinion, of the pro teams, the Rams or Chargers, is the better team right now? I don't know if you want to preface that as the better cultural team or just better statistically is going to have a better season this year. I'll let you take whatever stance you want to on it.
Well, I'm going to have to go Rams just because they have a veteran quarterback, and I know how tough it is to go into a season of unknown when you draft a quarterback that high. I was in Cleveland one year, and we drafted Brandon Weeden in the first round. We had 2 picks. It was Trent Richardson and Brandon Weeden, and we gave him the nod, and it was a difficult thing for us. Chargers do have Taylor. They could start him, but they drafted that rookie with high hopes of him taking on to be the leader of this team.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm gonna stay with the Rams here, and I think what they got going, they make it the best team.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, both teams, I think, have a lot of good players, a lot of good position players. The Chargers have put together a really, really solid defense, which I think is why they'll be very competitive and still be a playoff contender. But yeah, it comes down to quarterback in the NFL. And right now, say what you want about Goff, but Goff is the better quarterback of the two right now. So I think that's a fair assessment. Okay, random one for you. A lot of news surrounding Taco Bell with some of the items they're moving, but are you a Taco Bell guy or a Del Taco guy? Not football related, just random.
Who is coming up with these questions? No, I'm a Del Taco guy, man. Are you kidding me? They got the chili cheese fries.
That's right.
And on top of that, they got cheeseburgers. They're pretty good. And
their burgers are great.
They're great. No one understands them.
Yeah.
And they got these things called toppers, where it's like ice cream, but my favorite ice cream is cookies and cream. They put cookies in it.
I didn't even know they do that. I didn't even know they had ice cream, to be honest with you.
Del Taco, bro.
Is that a secret menu or is it listed on there?
It's on there.
I guess I don't look far enough. I always just go dollar menu. I go simple. I get the green burrito. I love their green sauce. Just beans, cheese, and that extra green sauce all day.
Bro.
Yeah, I'm a Del Taco guy. Growing up in Colorado, we didn't get our first Del Taco there until I was in high school. And when it came, that was like our drunk spot. I mean, I was in high school, so, we weren't drinking, but that was our spot. So we'll with the air quotes on there.
Just let them know now.
Yeah. Dad, if you're listening. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a Del Taco guy too. Okay, last one here for you. And this involves the Mecca that is going in Inglewood SoFi Stadium. So this new stadium being built. They asked Frosty, what was the best stadium you played in your career? Obviously, this will be different for fans because it's a different experience you playing in it or just sitting in it, enjoying the atmosphere. But for you, what was the best stadium you played in?
I'm going to have to say the 5 years I spent in Arizona took the cake with stadiums. I played in every stadium. I didn't get to play the international game in Mexico or in Canada because the Raiders played that last year. But I got a chance to play in London. So I played in every NFL stadium, and Arizona is by far the best just because it's an indoor field that they can wheel in and out. I mean, it's a grass field, that they wilt in and out, which gets direct sunlight. And come October, November, the grass is perfect. They open the roof up. Phenomenal stadium. Crowd's always rocking. I love that environment. They really set the stage. And I'm going to say Cardinal Stadium.
Yeah, it's a good one down in Glendale. Rise up, see red, right? That's what's the.
Yeah, that is what they say.
Yeah. What was the random? But you said you played one international game over in London. What was that like? I know I've heard a lot of players hate it. Some players love it. What was that like?
So, obviously, if you're in the States and you're going to a game, obviously the home team generally has the advantage because of the more fans. Yeah. There, it's a mix. So it's like a soccer environment where they're just screaming nonstop. Whoever scores, they're pumped. Whoever does anything, they're pumped. And that aspect of it was different. The grass is a lot different because it's real fine and thin. It's not Bermuda like we play over here in the States for the majority. Yeah, so it's real thin. It's like a soccer. It comes up, and you would really want thinner cleats, but you can't have them. So yeah, that was a different stage.
Was the travel aspect horrible, or did you adapt pretty quickly if you went over there the week of bar?
Terrible. Terrible. I did it 2 times.
They're what, 8 hours ahead, 9 hours ahead?
Yeah, it's a struggle to catch up to it and try to be not tired at times, trying to keep up with your family back in the States, letting them know you're safe, but it's it's the time zone, everything throws you off. You need a good 2 weeks. I'm 0-2 out there. And one game.
You really hate it.
Yep.
Makes sense. I know this is a different topic for a different day, but I know the NFL really wants to eventually have an international team, and I know they've started playing with the idea of Mexico City, which makes a lot more sense because they're actually in one of our time zones. So the travel time, it's a 2-hour flight. You're in mountain time zone as opposed to being 8 hours ahead. And so the travel makes a lot more sense, but different topic.
Not the mighty dollar.
Yeah. So I just got to say though, man, this SoFi Stadium, they are just about done. Thing's going to be unbelievable. It's going to be over $70
million it took to build that thing.
Yeah. It was originally priced estimated at like $2.25 billion. So they're about $4 billion over budget. No big deal. Just $4 billion.
No biggie.
Yeah. But yeah, the NFL headquarters is going to be down there, or NFL Network headquarters. Seats like 70,000. Obviously, we're going to have the Olympics there. We're going to have World Cup there. So it's going to be the center of not just LA football, but the center of LA entertainment, I think, for the next 20, 30 years, which is pretty cool. And the fact that we get to be a part of it going forward, it's going to be a lot of fun.
All right. Well, we'll be there.
Yeah, we will. So, well, Frostee, this was a good episode, good fun. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off?
I just wanted to say we talked about Andrew Whitworth. I want to special shout out to him and his family. Make sure they're staying safe and getting well as everyone else across the country, and especially in the people in the LA. I know it's a crazy time period with the governor and the restrictions and school and whatnot, but thoughts and prayers to everyone. Stay above the recklessness and be kind to one another and be good neighbors. And that's all I got.
100%. Couldn't say it better. Yeah, be safe out there. There's a lot of stuff coming out too about the new regulations the NFLPA wants to do for this COVID. Maybe we'll get into that more next episode, just kind of how they're going to weed through this, who goes on IR and blah, blah, blah. A lot of stuff going out. They'll probably be changing over the next few days. So we'll wait for that for next week. But Frostee, pleasure as always. You can find him on the socials, The Organic Frost. Find me at Ryan Dyrett, LAFB. Make sure to subscribe to the Bleav In LA Football podcast wherever you subscribe. We're on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, everywhere you listen. We are. Stay healthy, stay safe. Have a great weekend. This is the LA Football Podcast.
Let's go! It's the LA Football Podcast.
Touchdown Ram! Recovered by the Chargers. Touchdown UCLA!
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrett on the Bleav Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.